The Yautja don't speak in a way that humans can understand. It's beyond human understanding per se. I mean, to a German, Hindi would be alien, and to an Indian, Deutsch would sound like Latin and Greek. However, it will still be familiar cause every language, or most of them, is made out of words, which are made out of syllables. But the Yautja language isn't built from familiar words or standard phonetics, but from something more primal, something that sounds closer to nature than culture. What we hear from them are bursts of clicks, guttural growls, and deep purrs, more animal than articulate, at least to our ears. That said, this isn't noise without meaning. The Yautja language, both spoken and written, is layered, coded, and rooted in their identity as hunters. In this video, we are gonna explore everything there is to explore about the Yautja language, including, but not limited to, its origin, grammar, form, structure, and its importance in Yautja society. But before I begin, I have a small request. Please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons. Those 2 small clicks from you will help us tremendously in bringing you more of these marvelous videos. And now, let's begin. The Yautja were once a reptilian race. According to National Geographic, geckos, who are reptiles, are known for making clicking sounds. Some geckos, like the turnip-tailed gecko, use clicks to mark their territory, potentially mimicking insects. These 2 things are pretty important: reptiles who mimic insects. You see, according to the Yautja lore, they were once a reptilian race called Hish-Ku-Ten, who were enslaved by another race of beings called the Amengi. These were an insectoid parasitic race who came to Yautja Prime to colonize it and feed on its resources. The Amengi needed entertainment, so they pitted the Hish-Ku-Ten against each other in gladiatorial battles, but that was not satisfactory enough, so they spliced the Hish-Ku-Ten DNA to spice things up, making the Hish more resilient and dangerous. So you see, the clicking sound might be the result of the reptilian origin and the blend of reptilian DNA with the insectoid gene splicing that the Amengi performed. What is the Yautja language? Let's start with the basics. Yautja speech comes from their throats as well as their mandibles. That usual click sound, often heard when they're stalking prey, comes from clacking those mandibles together. These clicks are accompanied by low rumbles and sharp snarls, and that pretty much makes up the backbone of their verbal communication. Safe to say, when it comes to predators, their language is not really about enunciation, but more about tone, pace, and volume. We have even heard them laugh, right? A rapid burst of clicks might resemble laughter, but I am unsure if they actually laugh because they find something funny or if it is all just a part of their hunt, a part of their elaborate scheme and ploy. What about full-bodied roar? That is let out on occasions of triumph or rage. Their vocal language isn't made to be understood by humans, and that's the point. It reflects a species that prefers to keep its thoughts out of reach. And if you think you can simply map those sounds into our grammar systems, you might stand incorrect. Yautja follow an object-verb-subject, or OVS, sentence structure, which turns English syntax upside down. In our terms, a sentence like, "The hunter kills the prey," would change to, "The prey kills the hunter." This linguistic structure is vanishingly rare among human tongues, and it reinforces the predator perspective. The prey comes first. This is not like the flipping of sentences between active and passive voice. I mean, the passive voice for "the hunter kills the prey" would be "the prey was killed by the hunter." This also places the prey first, but the killer remains the hunter. But that's not the case here. It's like saying, "Apples eat Thomas," or "Thorns have roses." The 3 human languages that still use the OVS system are Aiwu, Hixkaryana, and Urairina, despite the thick language barrier, as thick as tens of thousands of light years. Predators have no trouble understanding their targets. They can mimic human speech, not fluently, but effectively. We've seen them record human voices, then regurgitate those lines back at just the right moment. They repeat a laugh, mock someone's last words, or bait others with a cry of, "Over here." Naturally, they do not mimic for the sake of it. Predators use mimicry as a calculated tool. They wait, they listen, and they repeat with purpose. Sometimes they imitate you only to disorient you, sometimes to taunt, but always with timing. It's less about the words themselves and more about what those words do to their prey. If you go deeper into the predator lore, veteran Yautja have even learned bits of human language, especially English, because according to them, Marvel, DC, and most other franchises, Earth mostly means the US. Jokes apart, learning and speaking English is not common among Yautja, and it definitely doesn't come easy to them. Why? Well, vocalizing our syllables with their anatomy takes effort, but it shows they're capable. Most of the time, though, they stick to what they know. So, from this discussion, I believe it is safe to say that the way they speak mirrors the way they live. Primal, deliberate, and riddles with meaning we've only begun to understand. 3. Visual communication, the glyphs and symbols. Like most sapient aliens shown in film and TV, the Yautja, for all their primal nature and guttural growls, don't rely solely on sound to communicate. We know for a fact that their culture is steeped in tradition and ceremony, but they use a written script that looks more like digital rune code than anything scribbled by human hands. These are structured glyphs and form a full writing system that appears everywhere from ritual chambers to wrist gauntlets and more. Let's start with what most viewers remember, the self-destruct countdown. In the original Predator, which starred the Governator, when the wounded predator decides to go out with a bang, we see the display light up on its forearm. Red glyphs blink in sequence, one by one, depicting the seconds before detonation. It's all silent, except for that beeping rhythm and the symbols extinguishing line by line. It was pretty obvious to the viewers, and hence, no subtitles were needed. Even if we don't know exactly what the glyphs say, we know what they mean. That countdown sequence is what introduced us to the Yautja's written language as something active and functional. These symbols form an organized alphabet. Each glyph, often segmented like digital clock numbers or claw marks, corresponds to a sound, a number, or sometimes an idea in their native tongue. So when you see them in HUDs, scrolling across gauntlet screens, or ancient carvings into the walls of their pyramids, you are looking at the Yautja version of formal language. It's how they leave messages, tell stories, and issue commands. It's like their vocal speech. It's pretty much an enigma to outsiders like us. We first saw their writing carved into the ancient ruins in Alien vs. Predator, where Lex and her team found walls inscribed with this digital-looking script. I am saying we first saw it here because in the original movie, it was just numbers, a countdown. This stuff became the basis of humanity's knowledge of the written history that they left. On a Predator ship, the same kind of symbols might update system diagnostics. On a temple wall, they might recount a great hunt performed by some legendary Yautja. As for the countdown numerals, people have managed to reverse engineer enough to spot patterns. The Yautja seem to use a unique base system, which is distinct from our base 10 counting system. Those same number glyphs appear consistently in games and most films. What's impressive is the linguistic thought behind it. Despite its alien look, the Yautja writing system functions like a very real language, complete with rules, structure, and logic. The Yautja Dictionary, words and phrases with meaning. You and I must agree that the Predator films have not gotten a lot into the Yautja's language, but when you look at comics, novels, and the extended lore, you find a very different picture. You find a rich vocabulary that speaks more about these alien hunters than their mandibles ever could. If you have even a passing knowledge of the Yautja, you would know what they live and die for: the hunt, the hierarchy, and above all, honor. And their words reflect this bit like a freshly crafted mirror. Take Kichtipa, for instance. This term refers to the wrist blades that every predator straps to their gauntlet. But I must note that these blades are an extension of the Yautja's pride. Kills made with them must hold the most weight, because a hunter who wins with his Kich Tipa is one who fought in close quarters combat, the proper way, given that these guys are super into honor, valor, and all that. Then there's Kande Emeda, hard meat. This is how the Yautja refer to xenomorphs, although it sounds kind of poetic, almost like a line from an ode to xenomorphs. It's largely practical. Now, although they call it meat, it doesn't necessarily mean that predators eat xenomorphs, but it does underline the fact that most animals are nothing but meat to them. When they look at someone, be it from any race, all they see is prey, either worthy or unworthy, but all are simply prey. I'll explain how. Take Payod Emeda, which means soft meat. Any guesses on who or what this could be? Anyone? Yep, that's us. Humans. Fleshy, fragile, and often seen as less of a challenge. That hurts, by the way. Anyway, I do find some degree of validation from the fact that we aren't dismissed entirely. How? Well, predators have a slang term for us called uman, which is nothing but a garbled version of the word human. It's a small thing, but it shows they've been watching us long enough to come up with nicknames. And we have seen from films and comics that if an uman proves clever or dangerous enough, they may even get upgraded from soft meat to worthy prey. Less flattering is Tere Hassan, which means insect. In Yautja culture, calling someone this is pretty serious. It means they're beneath you, and you know how they are about honor. Anything too weak is basically scorned instead of just being ignored. Too much of all this. Let's take an example that means a lot to Yautjas. So at the other end of the vocabulary spectrum is Paya, which means conquering warrior, or in some contexts, God. Hey, we've covered the entire Yautja religion and their gods in one of our videos. You may want to check it out to learn more. Coming back to the term Paya, it's used for legendary hunters, possibly even divine figures in their culture and history. The Yautja also swear like soldiers. Kjit also means damn it, and pauk is the predator version of the F word, while pauk D means doing the deed, and siut D means shit. On the contrary, in a phrase I'm likely going to butcher, Tharnda Sindyan Takai means strength and honor, and is a common parting phrase. Do you remember who else uses the phrase strength and honor? Take a guess. I'll give you a hint. This person was also a legendary warrior. Let me know in the comments. Translating your name into Yautja glyphs. For fans down here on Earth, you can decode the Yautja language on your own. Yep, you can find the Yautja script for pretty much any word, phrase, number, or even punctuation. So online communities like AVP Central have compiled extensive glossaries and even built tools that translate English into predator glyphs. I will leave a link in the description. In fact, why don't we come back here and tell each other what the predator version of our names are? So go on, explore the Yautja language and culture further. Ciao Taiti. You can go and find out what that means. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe out there. Thanks, everyone.